Yeah, I was really encouraged by the nature of our game on Saturday from a complementary football perspective. I thought we started very fast on special teams. The opening kick return by Joe Reed, which was welcomed, and we've been working hard on that. It was nice to see us have some success there. The field position created through special teams, kickoff return, punt return, as well as some of our coverage units. I think that was the catalyst that allowed us to start fast and get a jump on Duke. It took them a while to recover, but we played cleanly and executed well enough down the stretch to make the critical plays to win. So in summary, the catalyst in our special teams, establishing field position and starting fast helped, and then our execution and consistency helped us close out the game as it went. So plenty to work on. Another ACC game. So glad to be at home. Makes a difference, and looking forward to playing. So I'll take questions if you guys have some today.
You obviously like to talk about complementary football. That's near and dear to your heart. Is that just an example of, I mean, each part of the team being invested in the rest of the team? And
yeah, and it might have been the best example in quite a long time. When I watched it happening on game day, and then I watched it again, where one side was stacking success off the next side, which was stacking success off the next side, and if there was a deficit, then there was a comparable effort being made to mitigate whatever the problem was. And so, as well as our fourth side, which is our sideline in terms of their investment. So it looked, it was executed, and it felt much more like complete football than it has to this point this season. So I took that as a growth, a step forward in growth that we had taken, and again, it only.
Bronco, you've talked a lot this year about the emerging confidence of the team and how it continues to grow and all that. How dangerous then is it to look at a North Carolina team that's won one game as, you know, you guys are playing great, you got a one-win team coming in here? How dangerous is that?
Well, it's dangerous up until the point where you turn on the film and then you see them, and it's like, oh, they're very skilled. The schemes are good. The players are good. And when you consider the last two outings, not only statistically against Virginia Tech, the way that game went, and against Syracuse, they're certainly capable of beating anyone in our league at any time on any Saturday. And for whatever reason, just haven't quite putting the whole thing together yet. But I don't think there'll be any issue whatsoever. I think the players will have the exact same response that I had as I turned on the film. It's like, okay, another really good team, another ACC opponent, and that's been my takeaway.
Coach, we caught a glimpse of the depth of the running back room on Saturday. If you would, can you break down the strength with me for those second-tier guys, Kyer, Sharp, and Atkins?
So with PK, PK is Jordan Ellis, just kind of in a different body. He runs for power, and he runs for first downs, and he's tough and he's durable. Lamont Atkins is versatile, meaning he can run and catch the ball out of the backfield, and a little bit more dynamic than Jordan or PK in terms of the way he's built and probably for speed. And Chris Sharp we've seen as just kind of his versatility throughout the course of the year. He's a physical blocker. He catches the ball out of the backfield well, and he's good on the perimeter.
And Lamont seems like he's been on the field a little more than the other guys, but he's been mostly a decoy or a blocker in pass protection. Is he more advanced than the other guys as a pass blocker? And what do you see as his role right now?
His role's emerging. He would be more of a traditional tailback in most people's system, more of an every down type of back. And again, with our intent to have the best 11 players on the field at any time, Jordan Ellis is hard to take off the field. And so Lamont is just kind of biding his time and working hard and looking for opportunities, and wherever he's scripted, he goes in and does the best he can.
Bronco, I guess really quickly before, but you mentioned Jordan. Any update on him?
Yeah, so I don't have the exact update in terms of for play this upcoming Saturday, other than it wasn't as severe as what they thought, and they're hopeful that we'll have them at full strength Saturday. I'm sure it'll change every day, but right now we're hopeful.
And then last year it just felt like, especially this time of year, it was just a race to get to 6 wins, race to get to bowl eligible. Whereas this year you're sitting at 5-2, you got the next 3 at home, this opportunity here in front of you. How do you kind of manage that, just looking at the opportunity that's in front of you?
Yeah, last year certainly over, and I don't see it, nor has it really entered my mind as a point of reference. This is a different team, it's a different season, and our entire focus is on how we play well enough to win our next game. And our team certainly doesn't feel, and in visiting with them today, that this isn't to where one more is enough. They're anxious to see how many and how strong they can finish, and I think they're very determined. And I sense just more and more focus and more intensity on helping our team continue to improve. So yeah, they're really in the moment right now, I would say, and very focused and dialed in on how to continue to improve.
Bryce hadn't had many interception issues until the Miami game, and obviously you won that game, and I don't think you had any turnovers this past Saturday. Just talk about what you might have said to him after the Miami game as far as the interceptions.
Yeah, it didn't take much. He was talked to pretty forcibly at halftime by Robert, and that usually does it, and it did in this case.
You were talking about the complementary football and how much the special teams have contributed to that. How much of a difference has Ricky made, and does he do anything different than a lot of special teams guys?
Yeah, I would say this past week was I can't say the first manifestation that he's making a difference, because we've seen it behind the scenes, but that was the first game this year where I thought all phases of special teams performed in a manner that I think he and I both have hoped for and expected. And so, and what that's allowed, having Ricky here, is I couldn't be in the current role I am without Ricky doing that, because that would mean either Kelly or Nick or someone else is doing special teams as well as position coaching, which that workload is too fast, too soon. And so the ability to add a 10th coach really allowed me to change roles, allowed the defensive staff to function at a higher level without the addition of special teams responsibilities, because Ricky is here. And now in terms of yield, yeah, I push hard for, and I love the numbers and I want success. And so we targeted a number of things during the bye week, and that kind of has been the catalyst for improved play, I think, on this past Saturday. And continuing it is everything. But I was encouraged by some of the changes we made and what the results were.
You speak a little bit to Tim Harris. He made a couple of plays we took note of in the game, but if you look back at them, he kind of got beat and recovered. As a coach, how do you evaluate that? Because the recovery was impressive, but I guess the
Sure. Well, I start with the end in mind, and I go backwards. Did he make the play or not? And if he made the play, then there's praise first at a really high level, and then it eventually ends up to the correction. If he doesn't make the play, the correction is first. And so Tim, after a slow start this season, continues through practice habits to establish and reestablish a role on this team that'll help us. And there's still a fierce competition between he and Darius Bratton, and Darius is playing well. And so that keeps both of them performing and practicing at a high level. And so I think it's a great situation, and my ideal for our team would be to have that kind of construct at every position, and eventually we'll get there.
Bryce Hall is becoming the kind of corner that teams don't throw at, that kind of avoid. Obviously that's awesome to have, but on the flip, does that put more pressure on Darius and Tim because suddenly they're the target?
Sure. Yeah, there is one side that is more consistent than the other, statistically, and so anytime that an opponent perceives a weakness and probes it, it will quit being probed and it withstands the probe, right? And if there's weakness as the boundary testing kind of happens, then yeah, they keep drilling and they keep going. And right now, as the defense continues to play more and more consistently and is really doing well, not yielding points, the number of places you can look to generate points is shrinking. And so that means that any place that there's vulnerability, man, we're targeting it hopefully before our opponents do. And that's part of our job as coaches.
It's not uncommon in college football for multiple running backs to get carries over the course of a season. You obviously have a lot of confidence in PK based on your comments. What is it about Jordan that makes him a guy you just kind of want to keep using time and again? Is he better as the game goes on like that when he has a heavier workload?
You know, I'm not sure he's better as the game goes on. He's just the same, which means I think that to summarize the answer to your question, he's just so consistent. So he's so fiercely trained condition-wise that he doesn't get tired. I don't see the yield or burst or aggression or the competency diminish over the game. And if that's the case, then he just stays in. Different than sometimes where, you know, a player's tapping his helmet and after a long run he can't sustain it. Jordan is not like that. And so there really hasn't been a huge reason to substitute, mostly because of his preparation and his conditioning.
Bronco, Barber mentioned briefly Bryce Hall and just the way he's grown into this and emerged. How much work has he put in to get to this point?
Yeah, I don't think you can. I don't know if I can describe that. He's in our office every day. The best players that I've coached have been in our office every day, and he doesn't walk through to be seen. He goes in the back way, and I usually hear he's there because someone else tells me he's there, and so he's not there for the sake of appearance or praise. It's more like he's going to work, and so he goes in the back entrance, he slips in the video room, and he's studying current players, he's studying NFL players, he's studying our opponent's film, he's studying past BYU film of guys that we've coached, he's studying the upcoming game, and he's very methodical. And his preparation has led to his consistency, which has led to his production, and he does it every single week. And I think his influence will have a lot to do with the development of our program, especially in the secondary, as the next generation of guys want to know how to be a good football player, or how to play early, or how to be consistent. All I have to do is just say follow him, and that really helps.
Has he always been like that, or has he kind of
grown into it? And with each successive year, I would say more time and more focus. It's one thing to watch film, it's another thing to watch it intentionally for specific things that really make a difference. So that's really where I would say his time spent has not only increased, but the specificity has also increased.
Coach, can you talk about specifically one unit on your defense, the defensive line? Albeit Duke was in predictable passing situations, there were multiple players in the backfield on critical possessions. Can you talk about the process with Coach Soto and what you're pleased with in the development of that unit?
Yeah, just that it's developing, and more than probably any other unit on the field. It just is. There's so much volatility in that group. We played basically just two players almost the entire game, in Eli and Mandy, so their workloads were very high. We have specific units for specific personnel, and trying to get the best 11 players on the field, not only by circumstance, but in terms of context of the game. And so, Coach Soto, Vic is working, round the clock, and it's development, and trying to find and match the right setting for the right skills and the right situation to get everything out of that group that we can.
Last year you talked about becoming bowl eligible. This year you talked about beating Virginia Tech. Do you talk much about the Coastal Division Championship? I guess you're a half a game out of the lead on that.
We know that our program is being built sequentially, and we know that building fortitude in people is our first goal. That means that it's one of my favorite words and favorite definitions, but those are the kind of people we want, resilient and courageous, and they take on hard things and they keep doing it. So that's the first thing. That usually leads to then enough wins where you not only go to postseason, but you win in postseason. That then, over time, does not mean that it could not happen this year. But over time, that usually leads to a Coastal or an ACC championship normally, and that normally is sequentially, and that then usually leads to your ability to knock off an in-state rival who's been to, I think, 25 straight bowl games, and then eventually the program becomes and is where we all want it to be. And so I'd love for all that to happen in 1 year or this year, and I'm not taking anything off the table, but I'm a realist. And so right now it's North Carolina, and the more that we focus on that, the closer we become to fulfilling however many of those remaining building blocks we have left.
Bryce took a deep shot to Obasi during the game. Is Obasi a guy you would like to integrate more into the offense over the second half of the season? And what does he bring?
Yeah, both, I would say, I'll mention two players at the same time. Both Obasi and Billy Kemp are emerging as players that are showing up on the scripts more and within the plan more. How they handle that will really determine, what their role becomes as the season goes. But the capability of, meaning either athleticism and or ability and or work ethic, or collectively those two players have, especially with Devontae moving into the secondary, that now has all come together for those two to have more opportunities to contribute. Whether they do or not now is up to them.
Coach, you mentioned Jordan's status. Joey Blunt also seemed like maybe he's had a stinger or something on Saturday. What's his status going into Saturday's game?
I don't know the status of Joey at this point, and probably won't be till Tuesday or Wednesday. So I did not hear specifically on him this morning. Otherwise, I would pass that on.
Going back to pass protection by the running backs, Jordan and PK are both pretty well-built dudes. Lamont's kind of not built the same way. Is it usually as simple as the bigger kid's the better pass blocker, or are there other things that kind of go into that?
Yeah, there's other things. Balance, I think, is really important, and balance with aggression. And so bigger doesn't always mean better. And sometimes the bigger guys are lungers and they get off balance easy. So aggression with balance are two things that I think are really important. And anything you do that keeps your body between your defender and our quarterback, that takes movement as well as enough strength and quickness and aggression to pull that off. And so, yeah, it's a difficult skill. That's a unique talent that has something to do with size, but not everything.
Coach, specifically to North Carolina, you mentioned earlier about they have people who are capable. Can you just talk about what you've seen on film from them offensively? I think they play two quarterbacks sometimes.
Yeah, so I like the scheme. I like their talent. I think they're explosive and capable, and the same thing on the defensive side. So it's, I think, very good ACC talent with strong coaching and execution within schemes that probably just hasn't been quite as consistent as they would hope. And but again, the capability is certainly there. They're probably just looking for a little more consistency.